Assalamualaikum and a good day. We are Group PR1 and our topic is Petrol Rationalisation Plan. How can it affect Malaysia when implemented? For many years, petrol subsidies have helped Malaysians manage transportation costs and maintain affordable living expenses. However, as government spending increases and fuel prices continue to fluctuate, discussion about petrol subsidy rationalisation in Malaysia have become more serious. Although this policy aims to strengthen the country's financial stability, it also raises ethical concern in public policy, especially in terms of fairness, public welfare, and social responsibility.
Petrol rationalisation refers to the restructuring of fuel subsidies so that assistance is no longer given universally, but instead targeted towards specific income groups. Recent news reports such as The Star and Bernama show that the Malaysian government plans on rationalising fuel subsidies so to reduce fiscal burden, minimize subsidy leakage, as well as reallocate funds for specific sectors such as healthcare, education, and infrastructure. However, these reports also highlight public concern that reducing subsidies would increase the cost of living. This demonstrates that petrol rationalisation is not purely an economic policy, but one that carries significant ethical and social implications.
We conducted a site visit at Petronas Precinct 11 Putrajaya to observe fuel usage patterns and public dependence on petrol. The observation was carried out at approximately 4:30 p.m. during off-peak hours where continuous refilling activity was still observed, indicating regular reliance on petrol even outside peak commuting times. According to the pub attendant, refilling activity increases significantly during morning and evening peak hours, reflecting strong dependence on petrol for daily work-related commuting. An interview with a volunteer customer revealed frequent petrol usage, with some refilling every 2 days, highlighting petrol as an essential resource for daily mobility. The customer also shared that fuel subsidies help reduce daily expenses even if the savings are relatively small, and noted that B40 households are more affected due to unavoidable commuting needs. From an ethical perspective, these findings suggest that petrol price increases resulting from rationalisation may directly raise transportation costs, leading to higher living expenses and financial stress, particularly among low and middle income groups.
Next, I will present about the ethical conflict and moral dilemma. The ethical conflict in petrol rationalisation lies between economic efficiency and social equity. On one hand, reducing petrol subsidies help the government save costs and support long-term economic sustainability. On the other hand, petrol is an essential resource for many Malaysians, especially the B40 community and rural residents who rely on private transport. Higher petrol price place a greater financial burden on this group. This creates a moral dilemma. Should economic stability be prioritized, or should public welfare and fairness come first?
We also conducted a site visit at an MRT station to assess public transportation as an alternative to private vehicle usage. Although the MRT provides a relatively affordable and environmentally friendly option, its accessibility remains largely limited to urban areas. This is due to the many suburban and rural communities do not have convenient access to such services. This unequal access raises ethical concern as communities without public transport alternatives remain dependent on petrol, making petrol rationalisation more burdensome for them.
So, from a utilitarian perspective, an action is considered to be ethical if it produces the greatest overall benefit for the greatest number of people. Petrol rationalisation may be ethically justified if the national savings and long-term economic stability outweigh the negative impact on society. However, when comparing utilities, the economic benefit gained by the nation must be weighed against the suffering experienced by affected communities, including increased living costs, and reduced access to essential services. From a duty-based ethics perspective, policymakers and engineers have a moral obligation to protect public welfare, health, and safety. Decisions involving essential resources such as fuel must prioritize fairness, accountability, and social responsibility. Therefore, petrol rationalization is only ethically acceptable if harm to vulnerable groups are minimized.
To further support this analysis, we conducted a short public perception questionnaire involving 24 respondents. The results showed that a majority of respondents rely on petrol for daily commuting and believe that petrol rationalization would significantly affect their living costs. Many respondents also expressed concern over fairness and supported targeted subsidies for low-income groups. These findings reinforce ethical concern regarding social equity, financial impact, and also public welfare.
In conclusion, petrol rationalization is not only an economic decision but also an ethical one that affects finance, quality of life, and public well-being. Higher transportation costs may indirectly limit access to jobs and healthcare, which can negatively impact people's daily life. To ensure this policy is fair, subsidies should be targeted towards vulnerable groups, implemented gradually, and supported with better public transportation system. Clear and transparent communication with the public is also very important. Overall, this case shows the importance of ethical decision-making in engineering and public policy, where national development should never come at the cost of public welfare, health, and social justice.